Hi, I'm Adam Bone with Final Boy Status, and this is a status update where I will be reading random questions out of a cup and answering them for you so you can get to know the voice behind your favorite member of Final Boy Status. So let's jump in. Alright. First question. What's a horror movie you've seen in the last 6 months that you would recommend? It's a good question. Honestly, I haven't seen a lot of good horror movies like for the first time in the last 6 months that I would recommend. There's a couple I wouldn't recommend. I just watched Midsummer. Wouldn't recommend it. Wouldn't actually recommend any of the I Know What You Did Last Summers. But you should watch them to follow along with the videos, of course. Another question. You've had experience performing stand-up comedy in the past. What was that like? Yeah, I did stand-up comedy once. It's fun to have the things in your head that you find funny about the world and being able to have a medium to present it and to hear people laugh along with you at maybe 2 or 3 parts in an 8-minute set. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. Next one. Why do you like the horror genre? Great question. I'm glad I picked that one. I'm very passionate about the horror genre. I think it's a genre that lends itself well to creativity and also sending messages to the world. I think the horror genre is a subtle way of invoking feeling. I've seen a lot of horror movies that have made me feel a certain way about a certain topic, and it was given to me very subtly because horror can be a metaphor for a lot of different things. A lot of the best horror movies I've seen use it as a metaphor for guilt or for loss, grief. And so I think it's cool that this scary thing, it's kind of jump scares, it's kind of stupid to some people, but it has heart behind it, and I think the best horror movies have heart behind it and send a message. And that's why I like the horror genre, because you can be creative in subtle in sending things that you're passionate about. What was a death in a horror movie that stayed with you? Oh gosh. Oh, that's a good question. Okay, I didn't recommend Midsummer, but most of the deaths in Midsummer definitely stuck with me because there was just no chill. There's no kind of way the camera just showed you this blood and gore, and definitely stayed with me. Not in a good way though. What song have you been playing on repeat recently? Well, the Rolling Stones hit Sympathy for the Devil. Really good song, really good piano, and just really raw sound. Played it like 7 times today. Just kidding, not that much. Who is your favorite horror villain? In the first Insidious, there's this evil old lady. She just scared me because I was kind of young, too young to see it, and just scared the crap out of me the first time I saw it, and just really sticks out in my mind as a very visceral image. If you've seen Insidious, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's really scary. What film got you interested in scary movies? Probably 2 films. The first, I think, was Sixth Sense, because that was probably the earliest scary movie I'd ever seen. I was the youngest, and it really scared me. I think the movie that really got me interested in horror, as I was talking earlier, being a way to present ideas in a very impactful way, was the movie The Babadook. Also very, very scary, but is the first time I saw the potential horror could have at not just being a scary movie, not only being a medium to scare and to present dark and evil things. It had a point behind it. The horror monster was something that we could relate to, because we've all kind of felt that grief in one point or another, and being able to learn to deal with it. And I don't want to spoil the movie, but there's a lot of catharsis in the movie that just was really inspiring as far as what horror could be, how we just haven't even scratched the surface of where it could go. What have been some of your go-to activities during quarantine? Definitely watching movies. I've watched a ton of fetching movies. Just sad to say, not a whole lot else. I worked out a little bit, but I'm just gonna say that, a lot of movies. If you could be in any horror movie, which would it be? Why? I think horror as a genre is not a movie. Any of them is a movie you want to be in. The point of our podcast is being like, you know, you probably, like, you don't want to be in these situations because a lot of times you're not going to survive because something's trying to kill you or eat you or haunt you. I don't think this is a, well, yeah, well, I'm going to go with Scooby-Doo. I know that's just like a really broad thing, but something's exciting about the mystery element of like, ooh, someone's like behind that. And I know there's movies where the things are actually real, but I'm talking old school where it's always this guy behind the mask and you're like, who is it going to be? There's less fear of like dying in horrific ways, but the fun spookiness and mystery element is still there. This question says, do you have coronavirus? I do not. If you could trade places with a horror villain for a day, who would it be? What would you do? This is pretty savage, but I would go with Jigsaw. That dude has the most creative mind. He could just kill fetching people in the coolest ways. He can set up little games for them running for their life, and that's exciting. If I were to be someone who's evil and wants to kill people, that's a given. Like, that would be any horror villain. Definitely Jigsaw, because that'd be a lot of fun. Got 2 left. What musical artist redefined your taste in music? I mean, this is cliche, but Eminem definitely, when I listened to him for the first time, showed me that like rap could be cool and wasn't just a bunch of mumbo jumbo and speaking. I thought it was like cheap that they were talking and not singing, but now I have a great respect for it. So we'll say that because that just opened a whole genre. Last question. Do you have a favorite director working in film? Who? This has changed tremendously over time. I've had so many different ones. For a while it was David Fincher. I honestly don't know. I have recently been a really big fan of Mike Flanagan. He does a lot of horror movies. He did The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. And every horror movie I've seen of his and watching that show, just like, I think he's my favorite horror director for sure. And I'm just excited everything that he's going to do. The Bly Manor that's coming out, super stoked for everything that he makes. I'll watch. Yeah, that's all the questions. Again, Adam Bone, Final Boy Status, the podcast. Find it on YouTube. It's really fun. We talk about surviving horror movies. If you like the horror genre, you'll love it. Click this little box right here to see our first Final Boy Status video, just to introduce you into it. Then over here to subscribe to the channel. Have a good one.